Hey YouTube, uh, today we're going to talk about some confusion about how your seat should be set and how high it should be. Now there's bikes out there that they sell as being flat-footed when you get off, but in all actuality, I've talked about this. I actually did a video just a while back about bike seat height. You can refer to that, but I'll go over it briefly. You want to take and have somebody measure your inseam with clothes and shoes that you wear to ride the bike normally. The clothes ain't really important, but we'll just say clothes. And then you take 0.8 or 80% of your inseam, and that's what your saddle height should be set from the center, from this bolt here that I'm pointing out to the top of your seat. Mine's around 26, and I'm right at 26. Now I didn't measure that when I did it. It's just from when I set my saddle heights, just experience. I know about where my seat should hit me on my hip when I'm riding, when I stand next to the bike. This also going to be a review for the bikeroo seat. So if you look at my saddle here, and we look at a level, I just putting it on there so you can see. I'm tilted back a little bit, and there's a lot of videos out there that tell you how to set your seat, but they don't give you the reasons. Tilted back a little bit is going to be a little more comfortable ride for you. Put a little weight on your butt and a little less weight on your perineum. If you need to know where that is, just look it up. If you tilt your seat forward, you have more power when you pedal, but it also makes you slide forward, and you put more weight on your hands. So I'm going to tell you not to tilt your seat forward unless you're doing a time trial, and I doubt you're going to be doing it on an electric bike. Time trialers used to keep their seat tilted way forward so that they could get better power delivered to the pedals. So get more power to the pedals, but it's less comfortable. So with your seat tilted back, you're going to be less power to the pedals, but more comfortable. So as you can see, that's how mine's tilted, and that's how my wife's is tilted. The nose of the seat is just slightly tilted up, maybe a couple degrees. Like I said, your inseam with the shoes that you ride with times is 80% of that inseam length is where you want to sit your seat, and you can adjust from there. But my advice is to start about a ½ inch below where you come in at, and gradually raise it up. So you can rely on the grease mark to show you where your seat was set, or you can take maybe a whiteout or something that's going to show up on that black and mark it that way if you take your seat out when you fold your bike up or anything like that, or lower it, or whatever you do with your seat when you store your bike or put it in the vehicle. Okay, so that's basically why my seat's tilted back like that, and it gives you a good idea of what you can expect. If you want more power when you're pedaling, you can try it nose down, but I'm going to leave mine like that. It's one simple rule that's helped me through the years. Instead of thinking pedal harder, think pedal faster. So if you're pedaling hard, sooner or later you're going to start having knee problems. So pedal faster, meaning that you shouldn't let your cadence drop below 80 pedal revolutions per minute. Try to keep it between 80 and 120. If it feels uncomfortable, then you might shift up a gear. But if it isn't uncomfortable, so you're putting less strain on your knees by pedaling faster. So just the mechanics of biking. And another thing is to think about pedaling in a circle, so that instead of pedaling with your power stroke down, it's good to think about pedaling in circles. So keep that in mind. I know it's a little hard without a toe strap or your pedals, your feet clipped into your pedals, but you can still use that even though you're not doing that. Okay, here's my wife's seat. This is a bikeroo. Says it right on the back. The spring came out. Okay, now in order to get this spring apart so I can get it mounted back on the bike, I got to take a pair of vice grips to it, loosen up this nut and pull it out. Those of you that are going to buy Cloud 9, my advice is not to buy the ones with the spring. Look for the ones with the elastomer on it. My wife has a Cloud 9 with the elastomer coming, these springs are noisy. The seat has less than 500 miles on it, and it broke on a ride, unfortunately. She had a horrendous day. She had her seat break, got down the road about 5 miles farther, and then she had a flat tire. And it was one of these days that she decided she wanted to go for a ride by herself. So I caught up to her, and and we walked the bikes the rest of about a mile home. And if you get your seat, your bikeroo or your Cloud 9 that has springs like this, look and see if the space between the two seat springs are even. Hers, she has another one that Lectric sent me as a replacement for my seat. It came out of the box tilted to one side. What is up with these manufacturers? That is really bad for you if you're tilting one hip or favoring one hip. So I'm not going to fix this seat probably. I'm probably just going to leave it in my junk pile and throw it away eventually. But I kept it just in case that one breaks. Not only is this a poor design, it doesn't even, I think whoever designed this, the only thing that's holding these springs in place is the curl of the spring. So if you hit something really hard, you could literally push the spring out of the holder. Not only is it a poor design, there isn't hardly any adjustability to move your seat back and forth. If you can see mine, I have maybe 4 inches of adjustability, and this, once I got it clamped in place, there was no place to move it. So if you needed to adjust your seat forward or back, you're SOL. You ain't gonna do nothing with it. So look for the one that has the elastomer. It won't have this bump in it, so it'll give you a little more adjustment. And as you can see, this is a woman's seat. It's 10 inches wide, 8 inches long. If this was the men's version of this, it'd be 10 inches wide and 10 inches long. So women need a shorter nose because they carry their weight on the back of the seat instead of on the nose, and men carry their weight on the nose of the seat instead of on the back. And if you find, you're going to find out real quickly, if you carry your weight on your butt, it's not going to be comfortable after a while. So, the seat, my new seat is holding up fairly well. Actually, even the logos are still on it. The Lectric had already wore off by the time. I believe I have 200 miles on the seat now. I'm at 1,200 miles now. Haven't changed. The weather hasn't been good enough for me to get out and change my tires yet. So my recommendation is stay away from the bikeroo. Stay away with any seat that has these type of spring setup on it. So That's my recommendation. You can choose any seat you want, but this is not going to hold up. This is not going to last. If you insist on buying this, I would take it to a welder and have them weld the spring to that so that it can't come loose. Okay, let me grab one of these tires here so I can show you what I bought. So, I went on V-Tire and vtire.co. If you look on here, and .com, and chose these. They didn't, it was the only one I could buy directly from them that, the only distractor is it's got the French flag on it, but I don't really care. It's a 72 thread count. It's still only rated at 20 psi, but it is a much stiffer tire than what's on the electric. This is a wire bead. If you buy the one on the Amazon links for this, you'll get the 120 thread count, and it will be a foldable tires. It's really no advantage other than it might be a little bit lighter because it doesn't have the wire in it, but I don't think so. We're gonna put them on as soon as the weather cooperates. It's too cold out here for my hands to do work on a bike right now. It's only like 49, 50 degrees out here. So the reason I chose V-Tire was most of what you can get for bicycles are either made in Europe or China. This one is made in Taiwan. And believe it or not, Taiwan is a step up from China, especially when manufacturing bike parts. Back in the 80s and 90s, the U.S. went from being, Japan's always been where Shimano was made, but not so much anymore. More of it's made in China than anywhere else. But Japan made great bike parts, but they weren't into the accessories, but they did make some bikes. Panasonic, Nishiki were some of the names that were around in the 80s and 90s that were considered good quality bikes. But to make it, anyway, in the 90s, most of the bike manufacturers started moving their production overseas. And Taiwan was the cheapest place for them to get bikes made. We weren't doing business with China at that point, not much anyway. So Taiwan was cheaper to make bike parts there, and at first it was questionable quality, but sooner than later they became the premier bike manufacturing country. They were, U.S. manufacturers were only keeping their top-end bikes made in-house in the U.S. That goes for Trek, that goes for Specialized, it doesn't matter what name brand. And by the time 2000s came around, you were only getting a U.S. made bike if you spent big money to buy it. Other than that, it was made in China or Taiwan or somewhere else. And about that time in the 2000s, that's when Huffy went out of business pretty much. They moved the factory. Schwinn moved to Poland, was being made in Poland. Scott, Cannondale's always been made in, for the most part, in the U.S. But they're just basically a frame manufacturer that buys parts and make a few forks and stuff like that. So I used to be a Cannondale tech in Europe. Did a lot of Cannondale repairs and assemblies. And I used to have a bunch of Cannondales, but when I came back to the States, I got rid of them. I had a K2 bike that I brought from Europe. Yeah, K2, the ski manufacturer, made bikes for a while. So that's why I chose V-Tire. It's made in Taiwan. This came from Taiwan. It didn't come from China. Actually, I have a shipping receipt. It was shipped DHL from Taiwan. These are 70 bucks a piece. They're almost as expensive as the ones on Amazon, but if you know me, I have a problem with Amazon stuff. Sometimes you have to wonder if you're actually getting stuff made by V-Tire or made by some Chinese manufacturer that's stealing their name and putting it on their product. Like those mongoose tubes I bought. I don't have the box anymore. I got the tube out the other day to replace my wife's tube. Second one on her bike. Zero. I haven't replaced mine yet. I got the tube out of the mongoose box, and you know what it said on it? It said Chow Yang on it. So why don't they just call it Chow Yang? People, I guess, believe mongoose is a name brand, so they Chow Yangs. Maybe they licensed mongoose licensed the product to them, but still made by the same company. So 1,200 miles on the back tire, and she's about done. There's a little tread left there, maybe a 1/16 of an inch, and I'm starting to see where, instead of just being wearing on the knobs of the center of the tire, it's actually a patch that's pretty wide that's just wearing on now. So I'm going to have to get those changed. So these are the V-Tire Mission Command, and these are in their special edition deal on their website, and they're the France. They also have the Speedster, and I've already said this, but they have the Speedster and a couple other different tires that you can buy directly by the from the manufacturer. So if you're looking on the internet for a tire and they're looking for, they call it the ERT size, is 102-406. So that's the ERT size, but the tire size is 20x4. And not all 20x4 tires are created equal. Some are going to be wider, some are going to be narrower. It's just whatever the manufacturer decides to call it. So these are going to go, both of them are going on my bike, and the front tire off my bike is going to go in the pile for my wife's bike when she needs a new back tire. She's at about 600 miles now on her step through. No, I haven't made any adjustments. Haven't had to tighten the spokes up. Haven't had to do anything other than replace the tire, and I'm getting good at it. For those of you that in the interim that need to change your back tire, here's my advice to you. One is take the disc brake caliper off the bike. It's two 5mm bolts that hold it on. Take it off the bike. It's one less thing you have to try to get lined up to get that tire, that wheel back on the bike. So keep that in mind. If you're taking your wheel off or fixing a flat tire and you have to take the wheel off, just take the brake out of the picture. You unbolt those, you can let it hang off to the side, and you don't need to worry about it going out of adjustment because you haven't really changed nothing. You'll just bolt it back on and you'll be good. But I'm going to show you that when I change the tires on the bike. I was hoping to get a ride in today. It isn't raining right now, but I think I'm going to chase the wife out of the house and we're going to go to Camping World. I might not buy a trailer from them, but I'll buy their stuff because they usually have the best prices on their camping gear other than shopping on Amazon again. We need to get a screen door protector because there's going to be times we have to leave our doggy locked up in the trailer, and I don't want her to scratch the screen door up. She loves to sit on the couch, so the couch is right there on our big window right here, so she has a place to sit and look out. But she has a little anxiety when we leave her. We're getting her used to the trailer. We'll bring her out here. Like the other night, we had we had dinner out here, and we set out on the cement here with the awning out and let her run in and out of the trailer at will. and she likes it in there, but I don't think she'll like it if we're not around, because it's not home to her yet. It will be in the future. So I spent $140 on these tires. Didn't spend anything on shipping. It took them about a week to get here from Taiwan, DHL. So keep that in mind if you're looking for tires. The time to look for tires isn't when you really need them, is before you need them, because especially with this fat tire bikes, there isn't a bunch of them out there, so they're hard to find. So if you're getting close like I am, get your tire and change it when it needs to be changed. The economy of it all is, I have the new tires, but I don't really need to change them yet until I get to the point that I'm going to start worrying about a flat. So I'm not there yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get them changed, because I promised I'd do a video on changing the tires. It's going to be a long one. You think I'm long-winded on these, you wait until you see. I haven't had the back tire off this bike, and there's a lot of people that complaining that it's a pain to get back on. Well, the one on the step through isn't great to get back on, but since it's a traditional bike rear end, it's not anything you have to take a screwdriver to pry back on. But I'm going to tell you, if I have problems with getting the wheel on, I'm going to spread the rear triangle enough so I can get the wheel on easily, because they should have manufactured it that way, instead of manufacturing it so tight. So I haven't done anything that you guys have seen off camera to this. The spokes, I did tighten a few of them up, but it wasn't anything it wasn't anything hard, and it wasn't anything I could show you on a tripod anyway. I did explain what spoke wrench you need, and I got one for wheel adjustments on a disc brake bikes are far and few between. So there is good reason to keep your seat height set right and get it set right. Is if you're bouncing on your seat when you're pedaling fast, your seat height isn't right, and go back to the measurements and check and see if you're bouncing, it's probably too low. And if your hips are rocking when you're pedaling, then the seat is too high. It's pretty simple. If you have somebody watch you when you're riding, they can tell you what you're doing. But if you're bouncing up and down too low, if your hips are rocking, your seat's too high. It is more detrimental to have it too low than it is too high. Too low puts more strain on your knee. Instead of powering at the bottom of the stroke, you're powering with your knee bent, and that can cause some bad knee damage. So make sure you get your seat height close to where it needs to be, and have somebody look at you when you're riding your bike and let you know what you're doing, whether you're bouncing or your hips are rocking, or you're overextending your leg when you pedal. If you're having problems with your knees, raise your seat. Just keep raising it. If you have a lot of problems with your knees, that's probably going to be the best bet, is to leave your seat a little higher than what you would ride. Okay, I'm going to call it a video. Get back in the house. Get the lady motivated to do something today other than to ride the bike, because you need a day off once in a while, and we have not missed a day in 2 weeks. I'm down. I gained almost all the weight I lost last year back, and I've lost 14 pounds. since I started riding again this spring. Not really haven't changed my eating habits. This watch, this Galaxy 3 watch, has a cycling function. It has running, cycling, whatever you do, but the cycling app is absolutely awesome. It will break it down to how many minutes you were in your fat burning zone, in your aerobic zone, uh, in the anaerobic zone, and how many miles you went, how fast you averaged, your split times for each mile, and it's accurate. It's not going to be based on some wheel spinning on gravel where you may be losing a little bit every time you pedal. So it's an expensive watch, but it is a tool, for a fitness tool. And you can answer your watch if you don't want to pull out your phone. If you don't, I have my phone mounted on my cell phone mount there, and I've had that on there since I had the bike pretty much. It is a OnePlus 6 mount. Absolutely awesome mount. I have crashed with it, and my phone got no damage. It didn't come out of the mount. It doesn't rattle around when you're riding your bike like I've seen those rubber band mounts that they put on bikes. They're all made out of plastic and rubber. This is aluminum. It clamps to it. You are not going to lose your phone with that, especially if you clamp it on right. So if you're looking for a phone mount, the OnePlus 6, I bought it on Amazon. It was about 20 bucks. So that's today's video, or this week's video. I hope you guys have a great day. Please subscribe and like the videos.